Sort of.
Fred to get us on back on camera. We on? We're good?
Excellent. Oh, yeah. Hello, Ed. How are you this evening?
Good.
Excellent. Just so you know, we ask all the applicants the same questions, just to keep everything fair, so we have a good benchmark, too, of how to judge everyone. But if you answer a question in a certain way that someone has a follow-up question, we're going to ask follow-up questions to piggyback off of what you said. You're okay with that? Did I miss anything? Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Mr. Johnson?
Can you tell us about yourself, your education, experience, and interest in this position? And what would your last supervisor say about your performance?
My last supervisor was me. I had my own business for the last 30
Can
years.
you speak up a bit, Ed?
Yep. My last supervisor was myself for the last 30 years. I had a construction company in Southbridge, based in Southbridge, Mass. But we built all over southern Worcester County. And my education was Worcester Polytech. I got a degree in civil engineering from there.
You can't hear him at all.
You can't, Sally?
Nope.
Okay.
Let me try to move things around.
Our fifth selectman is participating remotely, Ed.
Okay.
Yeah, take it.
Yeah, take the whole thing.
Take it.
He doesn't want to listen to us.
No, just take it all. That's it. Take it all. What?
Good.
Come on. Are you good?
Okay.
You want to repeat, starting over again, Ed, please?
Yep. The question was, what would my last supervisor say?
Hmm?
And like I said, I was my supervisor. I had my own business for the last 30 years. My education was a degree from WPI in civil engineering.
Any follow-ups?
Why don't you just roll into question 2 since it's a follow-up?
Sure.
Based on your education and your experience, how do you feel that matches up with the job description?
I think it matches up well. The town has a lot of infrastructure, I'm sure, and it needs to be upgraded often. And I'm prepared to do big packages for the maintenance of that infrastructure.
Can I do another follow-up?
Certainly, Mr.
to that?
Joseph.
A developer, in my mindset, a developer builds houses, but also can build subdivisions.
Correct.
Do you have any experience in terms of highway maintenance, care, etc., aside from any streets or roads you would have put in to a subdivision that you developed?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I built 3 or 4 subdivisions, which included all of the infrastructure, the water.
Honesty.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, okay. Next question, Mr. Marcy?
Question 3?
Sure.
Okay. Ed, what licenses or certifications do you have relative to this position?
I've had a construction supervisor's license for the last 30 years. I have, I think, an OSHA 10 license. I've had various infrastructure licenses in different towns for water and sewer throughout Massachusetts.
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
CDL, hoisting,
I have a
anything?
hoisting license, no CDL, but I have a hoisting license.
Well, you can help me because I don't know, and it's one of the things you listed as abilities, or skills. LIHTC, what is that?
LIHTC?
Yeah, you've got it down here. It's an acronym for something. And I'm not familiar with it, but it's Larry, Indigo, Harry, Terry, Charlie, LIHTC.
Oh, let me think about that.
You got me on that one.
That would be
Okay.
low-income housing tax credit.
Oh, that just caught me, that one caught me off guard.
I thought that's what it was from my tax background, but I wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Anything else?
Good.
Okay, number 5, please expand upon your managerial experience, including budgeting, employee management, specifically as it relates to collective bargaining personnel.
Could you repeat that?
Sure. Please expand upon your managerial experience, including budgeting and employee management, specifically as it relates to collective bargaining personnel.
I have no experience with collective bargaining.
Okay. Good enough.
Well, there's a part of that question that is beside collective bargaining. Have you ever supervised any kind of union personnel?
I did a job in Worcester where it was all union.
Okay.
So yes, he has.
Mm.
Okay. Manage.
Anything else? Follow-ups there?
Budgeting, well, there's the budgeting part. Mr. Chairman, are you? Ed, so how about like budgeting? Like, can you talk a little bit about how you would budget a project? Like when you're budgeting a job or?
Okay, well, what we would do is there'd be a line item for every single factor in that job. And we would refer to that every time we sublet a contract, we would refer to that budget.
Okay. Thank you.
We can assume, I can assume, I want to be sure I'm right, that we should not expect very long answers from you.
Correct.
Is that correct? Good, okay.
That's all right, Paul will ask long questions.
I did?
You will.
All right.
All right.
A distinct possibility.
Want me to take the next one?
Sure.
Please expand on any municipal experience or similar experience and how it relates to this job. So you said you worked 30 years for yourself as a
Right.
contractor developer. So you didn't work in a city for the last 30
No,
years.
but there were a project that I had to meet city specifications on, many of those.
Like what?
I did a subdivision in Lancaster, subdivision in Rhode Island, subdivision in Sturbridge. I had to deal with conservations and the planning board on each of those.
Nice.
Planning board, conservation.
Any follow-ups?
No, that's good.
We're all good?
Yep.
Next one is describe a time when you dealt with a stressful situation. How did you manage your emotions?
Well, I don't usually lose my temper.
Well, that's good.
Okay, that's a characteristic, but it doesn't answer the question.
Can you repeat the question again?
Sure. Describe a time when you dealt with a stressful situation. How did you manage your emotions?
stressful situation doesn't come to mind.
Okay.
You know what?
You lead a blessed
Yeah.
life, good for you.
I mean, he's so low-key in his answers, so let me ask you this. Is there anything what would you find to be a stressful situation?
I once went on an interview to build a house for a customer, and his neighbor was there, and he was liquored up, and he had an M16 with him. He was pointing that around. That was a little stressful for me.
Good.
You know,
Okay, good, thank you.
I agree.
Hopefully that's not a regular occurrence for you.
No. That was a long time.
Mr. Sullivan, could you ask question number 8, please?
Yes. How do you organize and prioritize your workload?
Well, what we do at the beginning of a job is we have what's called a critical path for basically it's all the project details and times for each project, and we try to maintain that critical path. And that was how I prioritized.
Thank you.
so project management, basically.
Correct.
Okay. Any follow-ups?
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to ask it now or later. Let me wait, one more question.
That's a great idea. Tell us about your experiences with successfully obtaining grant funding. You ever obtained grant funding
Have any
before?
experience with grants?
No experience with grants. Okay.
All right, so I'm ready to ask now. Can I?
Follow-up question.
In terms of, there's going to be a very steep learning curve with you. Because you don't have experience in terms of highway work outside of your development, your subdivisions. You're not familiar with grant writing. And with union personnel, which the highway department has. So let me ask you this. Obviously, you're no dummy. How long do you think it would take you to learn these things? And what can we expect from you as you're learning these things, learning the ropes of this particular job?
You're right. There is a little bit of a learning curve, I think.
Yeah?
And for that, I would be willing to go into reduced pay while I learn the job.
Okay. That's the longest I'm going to get out of him tonight, I can tell you right now. But he says what's on his mind, and bang, it's out there.
Not very verbose, which is fine. Any other follow-ups on the grant funding question? No? Next up is share a time when you willingly took on additional responsibilities or challenges. How did you successfully meet all of the demands of these responsibilities?
Thinking.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm thinking on instance.
Oh, yeah, take your time.
Well, there was one time I was working on a job in Lancaster where I was putting a road in. and there was some issue with a bridge or something. So, and we're going through the wetlands, so I ended up changing the whole bridge design and going to the state and showing it to them and getting them to approve it.
Hmm.
Nice pivot when problem arises, find a new solution. Makes sense.
Any follow-ups on that question?
No, I'm good.
No, you're good? Do you have any questions for us?
I do.
Okay.
What is the pay?
What is the pay?
Range.
It's in the, do you have the job description?
No, it's not in there. I gave it to John.
I don't recall seeing
I
that.
don't recall if the job description
There's a
lists the
range.
salary. The
There was a
the
range.
advertisement would,
I think there was a range on it.
was there?
I think the range was high 70s to right around 90 or 91.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Thank you.
I thought it was on the job description, I apologize. So yeah, that's what the range is.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Are we, any follow-ups?
Would you like to know about the hiring process, what happens from here on?
Sure.
That's a good question, huh? Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you want to tell them what happens from here on?
Well, from here on in, we deliberate, we've spoken to all the candidates, we're going to deliberate at some point, and we're going to make a decision, and we're going to go forward from there.
Do we have any idea when we want, Michelle, when we want to try to get someone on board?
I believe early, mid-November.
Okay.
We have a retirement that we need to fill.
Okay. You're never going to have another chance to ask us questions.
Okay. I'll probably walk out and it'll click. 3 questions will probably click.
Process from here is that we'll develop a ranking system for all of the finalists. We'll use that ranking system to arrive at a ranked order of the candidates, and then from that, we'll have a give and take as to what we liked about each of them, and if we can come to a decision quickly, we will. All right? And then, no matter what the case, you will be notified by the Selectman's office, in this case by Michelle, what the status is and where we go from there. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anything
Okay.
else?
Nope.
Anything else? No? We're good. Thank you very much for coming out, Ed.
You gentlemen.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you. Thanks for
Hey,
coming.
Ted.
Same here.
All right. Paperwork, paperwork, paperwork.
Yep, a lot of paperwork.
All right, thanks for coming, Ed. We'll be in
You
touch
guys have a
soon.
good night. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There we go.
Anything else on the agenda?
I don't want
Just
that.
adjournment, Mr. Johnson.
Adjournment.
So no deliberation tonight, adjournment,
Let me see, let me look at the
scheduled
agenda.
deliberation.
Through the chair, Jonathan, what else should we be doing tonight?
What's on the agenda? Where are we?
You can talk about the candidates, next steps, any additional actions you want me to take. You don't have to, you can just say it, you don't have to vote on it. This is a copy of the job description that was posted. The other one that you have was part of the salary story, it's just a more, which was just a more detailed version of
Yeah,
it.
I've read that, complexity.
on down. Like,
Thank you.
so far. And this is the one that
The survey was based on this, it was just more, the one you had was just more detailed.
Oh, that, yeah.
So on the agenda, the next thing is adjournment.
Where'd the complexity part go? My favorite part.
That's why it was removed immediately. The point is gotten across in that, in that job description that was posted.
How do you want to do this? You want to do it by a point system right off the bat? Or do you want to have a discussion? I will tell you that, in my opinion, there is one candidate that is qualified or ranked considerably higher than the other two. Not going to say who right now until we decide how you want to handle it.
Do we want to
Whatever
rank?
we end up doing, we can only deliberate in open session, so.
We can only what?
We can only deliberate in open session.
Well, I'm not suggesting we don't.
Yep, makes sense. Are we ready to do that tonight? Or do we want to put it on the agenda and sleep on it?
Well, you have the option to be satisfied with this pool of candidates. We can repost and extend, or take any other, you can direct me as you see fit.
We should probably talk if we're satisfied with the candidates, with what we have to pick from. Because timing's of the essence. I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Johnson.
So in this case, based on the importance of the position and the low number of candidates, I'd argue that, we got some great feedback from candidates tonight. And there's quite a few requirements on the job description. And I'd like, multiple candidates that meet all the requirements of the job description. That's, to me, I think that's only fair to the town. So I'd argue, thank everyone for coming in tonight. And I think those candidates are in the pool. I think the pool should be, unless it's not possible, convince me otherwise. The pool should be larger and be able to ascertain more options. So
So Mr. Johnson would like to see more options.
I'd like to see
Pick
more
up
options.
time, please.
So Mr. Johnson would like to see more options, is make sure I understand it correctly.
Well, now that creates an issue, and that's fine. But we have to decide if we want the personnel board to look further at the candidates and see if there's any additional ones that they want to recommend, or do we want to re-advertise the position for additional candidates? If we choose the second path, we need to notify the 3 candidates that we interviewed and let them know that the board wishes to expand the number of interviews we conduct, and that we will let them know what our decision is after that additional process has been completed. We need to be honest, but as nebulous and obscure as possible.
No, I don't think it's nebulous. I think we want more than 3 candidates. We're not sure what happened to the 4th.
Right, because we should note that the other candidate that we had lined up did not show up tonight for the interview, so.
Yeah, and we don't know why, and
We don't know why.
see a very good reason. So, in fairness to that candidate, and fairness to the town to get the best candidate available.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, do you have any thoughts?
Well, it came through kind of muffled, but if I understand correctly, Jay Johnson was pointing out the fact that the people we interviewed, all were missing some of the basic qualifications based on the job description. Is that right?
That's correct. That's what Mr. Johnson said, paraphrasing.
Right, so the intent would be, I heard Paul say go back to the personnel board, but I did look at the resumes that were rejected initially, and it looked like some of those people were either missing more of the basic qualifications, or like in a couple instances didn't even qualify at all. So the intent would be to go back out, try to increase the pool of candidates.
Yes.
Two-part question then, Mr. Chairman. Previous applicants need not apply because we'll keep them on file? And
Yes.
will we do anything to change, I was gonna say we could change the job posting, but then we would have to include people rejected before, right?
I don't know if people were rejected. We only had 3 names, or 4 names sent to us.
We had 5, but the guy from Holden didn't even respond, then Jonathan talked to him late, and then the other guy didn't show up.
Well, let me say it and finish it. We only had 4 interviews. The 5th one was a gentleman from Holden. If the personnel board feel, the most expeditious way is if the personnel board feels that there are additional qualified people who are not in the top 5 that they want to recommend to us, that would be the easiest way to go. If they don't feel that, and they think that we ought to re-advertise, then we go that route. Whatever the case, we need to get a move on.
Mr. Marcy?
Well, I heard some good things. We have an in-house candidate who currently is capable of keeping the lights on. I think we do have more time than we think, as we consider him and the others. I would like to see us repost this and try to find candidate.
You'd like to what, John?
I would like us to repost it and try to increase the pool. I think we have some time to do. I know there's a upcoming retirement, but we have again, people. Current applicant has stepped up a bit to help us keep the wheels on.
Well, outside the fact that some of us may not be happy with the number of interviews, I want to go on the record as saying that there was one of the 3 people that we interviewed tonight that I would have no problem negotiating for appointment to the position.
If it came to it, I mean, I may as well, but again, looking at job descriptions, looking at what's fair to the taxpayers in the town and what we posted, I mean, we should at least, try to be true to that as well.
I'm not objecting to it.
I know this isn't easy, guys.
This is
why we're all here at night trying to make sure we're hiring the right person.
No, being a selectman isn't just throwing out the first pitch at a Little League game. It's these tough decisions that no matter what you do, someone's disappointed somewhere, but you gotta find somehow to do the right thing. And that's why there's 5 of us, so that somehow the 5 of us always seem to come together and do the right thing, at least in the time I've been here, so.
So, Mr.
There's an
Chairman,
easy thing and
if I understand it correctly, we'll leave the people we interviewed under consideration
Yeah.
and expand the search?
Yeah, I didn't exclude anybody. Like I said, there's, if we had to, like I said,
I think that's a good idea.
we could go with what's on them. I could be, definitely consider that. But I think we owe it to ourselves and the town to look a little further.
Question, do we keep the salary the same? Because I've been racking my brain.
Is it that?
It's
you
a
think?
salary competitive, Mr. Chairman.
That's what I wanted to
The
ask.
salary range is, where are we?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Sullivan?
to the administrator, and I apologize if he doesn't have the information in front of him, how did the range match up with the salary study?
The lower end is too low. The high end is pretty, is
Right.
within the correct.
So I think, personally, I don't think it's a tough inference that maybe the range may have suppressed the pool, you know?
So Mr. Chairman, it's 70 to 94 is the range.
Well, say again?
70,149.99 to 94,908.81.
I would have no problem with raising the lower end of the range, but I would not change the higher end.
So our current
agree with you.
superintendent makes 84 to 86, somewhere in that range.
The current, yes.
86,
I think it's
believe.
86, yeah.
Yeah.
So do we put it 84 to 94 and change?
I'd recommend
80.
8. If you
I would
wanna-
leave that to the town administrator to come up with a more favorable lower end of the range.
So do you need a vote, do you need a vote of the board for this, Mr.
No, we
Ruda?
don't have the ability to, I understand, Mike.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Sullivan?
was the answer to the question, the salary study said 84 to 94?
I don't, it's,
The only thing I have off the top of my head is that the 70 low end was too low for the salary study. We were being more at the market rate in the 90 range, which is where it tops out 94.
that answer your question, Mr. Sullivan?
I didn't get it all. I thought he said the lower end of the range, that it didn't correspond to the salary study, but the upper part did.
Yes.
Yes.
You're absolutely correct, yes.
I just wonder, and I feel, I mean, I think I wasn't there. Seemed like we had good interviews. I just wonder if that kept the pool, like I said earlier, maybe compressed it a little bit.
Well, you know what, Sully? I'm assuming it's a rhetorical question and not one that can be answered, but only assumed.
Correct. I mean, we'll never know because
Right.
nobody contacted me and said I put in for that job, but the salary is too low. I mean, I just don't know. I'm good with how Mr. Johnson kind of laid it out before, and I'm good with what the board decides.
Did you do that?
I had a moment of clarity, Paul.
I'm gonna make a motion because I don't want to have a birthday while I'm here. I'm going to move that the Board of Selectmen continue the search for a highway superintendent, and that we authorize the town administrator to increase the bottom end of the salary range, but not to change the top end of the salary range.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Marcy?
So, Paul, does your motion include, like, searching, like, reposting?
Yes.
It's a search, so a broad search, not just,
Yeah, and you know, and I think, John, that the change of the bottom end will be viewed by potential applicants as a favorable move by the town.
yeah, okay. Thanks.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I
Mr.
know
Sullivan.
I heard somebody say before, contact the 3 interviewed people tonight. So we, like I said earlier, previous applicants need not apply, or would they reapply?
No, they'll be considered having been interviewed.
They will be considered having been interviewed and applied,
And under consideration.
and under
Which
consideration.
they are.
Which they are.
Right, so but they potentially could be back in, again, like, there'd be a second interview for them, but first interview if we,
I don't know, I don't think so, that they don't need to be, but you know what, Sully, as we've always tried to be, let's be transparent and let them know when we notify them that we want to expand the number of interviews we conduct beyond the 3. Be honest. Tell them the truth.
That's it.
And that's, that's being transparent. A lot of places don't do that at all. You never hear.
And I think the most important thing they'll do is to keep Mr. Johnson in his seat and happy.
Yes. Filled with charts. Any?
We have a motion and a second?
We have a motion and a second. Any
Yeah.
further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Paul Joseph, aye?
Jay Johnson, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Harry Sigenovich, aye, unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Paul Joseph, aye?
Jay Johnson, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Harry Sigenovich, aye, unanimous. Good night, everyone.
night, all.
Stay safe.
Good night, everybody.